Hey everybody, welcome back to the Junkyard Dog Report. We'll be talking about the Cavs Bucks game yesterday, which was atrocious to say the least, but definitely didn't start that way. So let's just start from the beginning when things were good. Actually, let's talk about some different good news. Giannis had some good things to say about Evan Mobley. He said he could see him being better than him one day. So let's hope that happens, and let's get into it. So the first bit of good news was that Ricky Rubio was shooting in pregame warmups. So that means he's closer to a return, and once he's back on the court, I mean, he provides so much for this team, not only from what he does on the court, but what he brings, from his mentality, his leadership, just his presence means so much for this team. So when he comes back, that's going to help us a lot. The other thing is Dean Wade was starting yesterday, Drippy Dean, because Lamar was out with illness. Now, I don't know about Lamar's status. I don't know what illness he has because all they'll tell you is that it's a non-COVID related illness, but hopefully he'll be back soon. And what JB had to say about Dean starting was, I think it's a good look. I think it provides, spacing. It provides defensive versatility and size. He's got the ability to make shots. He knows how to keep your offense ticking. So I thought it was good. And I talked about this in my last video when I was talking about other options to start other than Lamar, and nothing against Lamar. He earned that spot, and I want him to continue starting, but I was just thinking ahead, playoff times, you have different matchups. Who would you want to start there? And Dean Wade is the guy that if Lamar isn't starting when it comes playoff time, would probably be due to matchup reasons, as I just said. And Dean Wade would be the guy who would slot in for him because of what he provides, right? He's 6'10", but he's fast enough to play the three. He could shoot the rock at a great clip from 3-point range. He spaces the floor. He moves very fluidly in the offense, and no matter what lineup he's put in, he knows how to play his role very well, which is something I've noticed this season, is that you could put him with any other four guys on the court. Just grab four random players from four different teams, and you put Dean Wade on the court with them at the 3, the 4. He'll find his spot and what he has to do. So I definitely like that he chose Dean to start with Lamar's absence, even though Cedi Osman has been otherworldly in the last few games. Something that was interesting is that Jarrett started on Giannis, which is something I feel like JB has always kind of played Giannis that way, even a few years ago when we still had Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson was the one covering Giannis, so I feel like this is just JB's game plan to try and stop Giannis. And unfortunately, it didn't work out because when Jarrett picked up his second foul on Giannis, he also landed on him awkwardly and fell really hard on his hip. And his status is up in the air now. He's listed as day-to-day, but who knows what that means. With the way he fell, he could be out a couple weeks. He could be out a couple months. So hopefully everything is good. But what JB had to say about Jared Allen was, he's sore, and he wasn't able to go. He gave it a try coming out, but he wasn't able to go. And the other thing he said was he fell, landed on it, and if Jared can go, he plays. So it had to be pretty bad for him not to be able to go. And something about Jared Allen and kind of Lamar Stevens in the same breath is that they bring that physicality. Everyone else on this team, other than Isaac Okoro, is not very physical. And when you're matching up with a Bucks team like this that's very physical, especially with their superstar, arguably best player in the world right now, Giannis, it's very tough to counteract that when you don't have that guy like Jared Allen on both sides of the ball. And with him on the floor and not on the floor, this team has a completely different identity, They mentioned this in the broadcast, I don't know how many games, 3-4 games ago, that the Cavs are 9-19, since getting Jarrett without him, and they've won 63% of their games when he plays. So his value and his presence on the floor cannot be replaced by anyone, especially not, no offense, but especially not Robin Lopez, who he doesn't have the ability to move as quickly or as fluidly, and he's too old to be nearly as physical as Jarrett. So that's definitely a tough loss, depending on how long that is. But something that was interesting that I liked was that Evan Mobley was on Brook Lopez, because I've said this before, is probably our best perimeter defender. And I've also said this many times, bigs that can shoot threes have been killing us in every game. And, I mean, it's going to continue to be the weakness of our defense is big men that can shoot threes. But at the same time, it's better to take a chance with a big man shooting a three rather than letting a small guy make an easy layup inside. So, if you look at the numbers, it makes sense. I mean, we had a great start to this game. We started off with a nice 5-0 run. The Bucks made some free throws, but they didn't make their first shot until 9:22 left in the first quarter. So the defense started off well, but at the same time, we kept taking some silly shots inside that was giving Brook a lot of chances to get blocks. I mean, Brook had 3 blocks with 6.5 left in the first, and that can't be happening. And at the same time, you have Donovan Mitchell, who's off to a hot start. He started out scoring 8 of our 12 points at the beginning of the game. And, I mean, he definitely kept it going in the first half, but him and Darius Garland did a bad job of doing what they usually do best, which is playmaking for other guys. So they were able to get to their spots and get their buckets, at least in the first half, but they weren't getting other guys involved. And I think that's very important, especially when one of the big four and Jared Allen goes down early. You need to involve the others so they can pick up the slack for a guy who's an all-star. So, I mean, they definitely didn't do that tonight, or last night, sorry. But, I mean, we put it on the Bucks early, right? The Bucks were shooting 3 for 13 from the field with 2.5 minutes left in the first. We're on a 9-0 run in that stretch, too. And, I mean, we didn't end the first quarter on a great run because they picked it up, right? So we were on a 12-4 run, and then the Bucks finished the quarter on a 10-2 run. And this was a problem in the first half, right? Serena Winters was interviewing Luke Walton at halftime, and even he said it, the Bucks were shooting damn near well over 80% at the end of the first and second quarters. So, I mean, they were figuring us out in those closing minutes because we would get these big leads and then we would just sit back on that lead like it was just going to stay there. So we won the first quarter 30-25. We should have won by more. We went on multiple big runs in the first. But at the end of the day, that was the only thing to complain about in the first was how we closed it. Other than that, it was a great quarter. And we started the second quarter with a 3 from Jetty Osman, which ended their run, which was good. It got momentum back on our side. And we started the second quarter on fire. We went on a 10-3 run in the first 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So we definitely responded to their 10-2 run that ended the first and brought momentum solely back to our side. And, we were getting great effort on both sides of the ball. Like, we were getting these second and third chances offensively, and defensively we're doing a great job closing out possessions, not giving the Bucks second or third chances. So, after that 10-3 run, the Bucks and Cavs went back and forth with it a little bit. But then later we went on a 7-0 run, which was not ended by a timeout, but there was a 7-0 run. The Bucks called a timeout with 6 minutes left in the second, and Giannis entered the game. and he promptly ended the the 7-0 part of it. He made it 7-2, and we responded. We ended that run 12-6 with 4 minutes and 4 seconds, and Jared Allen had already went back to the locker room at that point to get checked out. But I mean, the thing that was great to see in the first half is that anytime they did anything, we had an answer, right? So here, Giannis had a 3-point play, right? We had the 12-6 run with 4 minutes left. Immediately after, Giannis got a nice finish and fouled, went to the free throw line, made his free throw. He got a 3-point play. So how did we respond? Darius Garland got his own 3-point play immediately after, which was great to see. But something that was a problem, especially after Jared Allen checked out, which I didn't understand at least, is that JB trusted Dean Wade to cover Giannis. And when Dean Wade was covering Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum when we were playing the Celtics, it made sense because he has the speed and the size to not only keep up with them, but to harass them with his longer wingspan and the fact that he's 6'10". But he's not a very physical guy. So to put him on Giannis was confusing to me. So I thought Ev should have been on Giannis from the very second that Jarrett checked out. Evan Mobley should have been on Giannis. Now, I mean, Dean, you got to give him credit. There was the one time where Giannis was going to, just dunk it, but Dean was able to strip him, get a nice steal on that. So, that was good to see. But another bright spot from that first half. So against the Blazers, arguably the best game the Cavs have played all season. We won every quarter in that game. The bench only had 10 points. The bench points at half versus the Bucks was 14. So, I mean, definitely picked it up in that department. Definitely something that's relevant considering the first time we played the Bucks, their bench outscored ours like 44-13. So, I mean, the first half was great. The things I'm complaining about are things that could happen and your team could still win. So, it is what it is. But then the third quarter happened, and the third quarter was disgusting. A lot like the first time we played the Bucks. It was demoralizing. It was I could use all the bad words for it. It was terrible. I mean, we had 2 points for 8 minutes in that quarter. Donovan Mitchell scored a nice layup with 8:39 in the quarter, and we didn't score again until there were less than 4 minutes left in the quarter. That just can't happen. And I know I'm skipping ahead, so let me backtrack for a second here before I go off on a little tangent. But the good news to start the third was that Jarrett was on the court. But as I told you before, when I read that JB Bickerstaff quote, Jarrett wasn't able to, grit it out. It was too painful. His hip or whatever it was, it looked like his hip in the replay that he landed on that foul. So I'm assuming it's his hip. But, I mean, Drew came out immediately. 1 minute and 24 seconds into the third, he made a layup and then he made a three. And in the first half, he was 0 for 5. So he was definitely looking for a spark to get him going, and he went on a 5-0 run of his own in that time. And I mean, I was definitely keeping track of the run to start the quarter. I stopped keeping track at 22-2 with 4:58 left in the third because I just couldn't stand to keep track of how badly the Bucks were beating us in the quarter. I mean, it's just like it's night and day compared to what we saw in the first half. The Cavs won both quarters in the first half. So, I mean, they couldn't miss a shot. We had plays where we had good defense, but we couldn't buy a bucket. I mean, it was ridiculous. And, I mean, what JB had to say about this was, Well, I mean, it was the physicality and the pressure. And you know what I told our guys is, like, in those moments, we have to trust each other and trust what we do even more. And, I thought it was one of those situations where we were trying so hard, but we was like running in quicksand. The harder you try to move, the more difficult things become around you. And again, like, we are a good basketball team with lessons to learn. And tonight, the Bucks taught us a valuable lesson. And, I mean, the Bucks came out in that second half throwing some serious haymakers, and the thing that's most troubling to me about that is the Bucks took away our bread and butter, and not only did we not have a response offensively, but we crumbled defensively. Right? We were doing a good job of keeping the Bucks out of the paint in the first half, and we were dominating them in their paint in the first half, other than Brooke, who was, getting these nice blocks. But I mean, when I think the best way to describe it is we were trying to run our offense at the start of the third, right? We were still moving the ball. We were still trying to attack the paint, and it just wasn't working. So what happened was we went back to playing like 2018 Cavaliers basketball, which was an atrocious season, if you don't remember. And I'm talking 18-19, not 17-18, because 17-18 we went to the finals. So just to clarify. But we were playing that type of basketball where everyone was dribbling and no one was passing. The thing that led to our 4-game winning streak before this game was that we were passing more than we were dribbling. And, I mean, when your two best playmakers combine for 4 assists, there's not much you can do. I mean, and that's not saying that Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland have to get 20 assists combined a night, because they can get those hockey assists. They can move the ball to the right spot so the third or the fourth guy can get the assist. That's not the point. The point is that we played way too much iso ball in that third quarter. The ball was not moving around. And then in the fourth quarter, when we tried to get back to it, it didn't even matter. They had momentum so on their side that when we tried to get back to what we do, I mean, we did. I'll give the team credit. They kept fighting, right? They kept fighting. There were points in the fourth where they actually made it a game again, whether it was a 12-point game or something like that. I mean, we've seen the Cavs come back from worse in less time, right? So they kept fighting, but momentum was so squarely on the Bucks side that it was impossible to get it back at that point. Even when we were moving the ball well and taking good shots, they weren't even going in. So that's what JB was alluding to with the quicksand. The harder and harder we tried, the more difficult it got. But another problem with this team is that Ev needs to step up big time. I mean, I'm not even talking about it statistically. I mean, he needs to be more physical, just straight up more physical, because when Jared Allen, Lamar Stevens, and Isaac Okoro are not on the court, we have no guys with any physicality whatsoever on the court. And a team like the Bucks is going to run over that. They're way too physical, especially when they started playing up to their championship standard in the second half, to even be bothered by a team that doesn't play physical basketball. And if they don't start to play more physical, then once the playoffs come, it's not going to be good. It really won't be good, because that's what makes teams that win a lot in the regular season look like disappointments in the postseason, is that they don't play physical enough and they just lose. And what Donovan Mitchell had to say about the whole game, he had a really long quote, so you're going to have to give me a minute or two here, was they turned up their pressure defensively. I told the guys at the end of the day, like, it feels bad, look nasty. Me and DG got to do a better job of, creating. But at the end of the day, they turned it up to a level that we haven't seen, We haven't experienced, and that's playoff basketball. And understanding that, they're going to turn up the physicality. Everything has to be sharp, right? Everything has to be more precise. I mean, we could talk about our offense that we got to hit shots, but at the end of the day, we got to, I had 1 assist. DG had 2, 3. I think we had 12 as a team, That's at the end of the day, that's a big piece of the game. But understanding that that's the level, we got to just understand that that's playoff basketball. That's what the whole second half was, playoff basketball. Javon Carter, Drew Holiday, Wes Matthews, those guys are going to bully the guards and try to make it tough. Then you got a wall down there in Brook Lopez. And so we got things we can learn and improve on, I told the guys that, I said, look, we're not panicking. We've lost this team twice the same way, but they went through the same thing, I'm just thinking that they went to a level they know they can get to. We don't know anything. Not all of us, I should say, know about that level. So understanding that, this is a learning lesson and it sucks. It didn't look great, but keeping it in perspective and understanding that this is a learning lesson and we just got to be better. I got to be better with the ball. I can't have 1 assist, especially in back-to-back games, I'm a playmaker, finding guys, hitting guys, and, DG is a better playmaker as well. But they got to give credit, Milwaukee, they turned it up when they did, and, we'll be better. And, I hope that's true. I hope that they learned this lesson well, because weren't they saying the same things last time we played the Bucks and we had a meltdown in the third quarter? Don't get me wrong, I still believe in this team. I believe they can do great things, but it feels like deja vu, we went on that 5-game skid and then we won 4 games in a row. It was supposed to be different now, right? But, it wasn't. It really wasn't. But, let's go into the fourth quarter, because we started off the fourth well. We went on an 8-3 run in the first 4 minutes and 58 seconds. And then, right after that, Giannis hit a 3. That just speaks to how far momentum was on their side. Giannis, I believe he was 2 of 3, 3 of 4 on threes on the night. Giannis was hitting his free throws. Momentum was squarely on their side. We had plays where we had great defense, but they had better offense, and they were just making these crazy circus shots that we couldn't do anything about. And our entire identity lies on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in the paint, right? I don't remember which game it was, but I know a few videos ago, I told you about a quote from Darius Garland where he was talking about how defense is this team's identity, and not just that defense is this team's identity, but the paint is number 1 on both sides of the ball. The paint is number 1, and in that second half, they bullied us in our paint, and they kept us out of theirs. And we have a team that can shoot. We do. We have a team that can put up buckets when they have to, but they took away our bread and butter, and we looked all out of sorts, that's not what you want to see, And, I saw a lot of you Cavs fans. This is the first game ever, actually, where I was in the Reddit live stream, chatting it up with you other Cavs fans out there. And a lot of you don't believe in JB because he didn't make any adjustments. He only took 1 timeout in the first 8 to 10 minutes, or the whole quarter in the third. But, you have Kevin Love out, you have LeVert out, you have Ricky Rubio out, you have Lamar Stevens out, you lose Jared Allen. I still believe in JB, and the identity he's given this team can work if everyone is more physical. We need everyone. 1 to 15. The entire roster needs to be more physical. I'm 110% serious about this, because that's what killed us. When the Bucks started playing physical playoff basketball with us, They looked like a car, and we were I don't even know what, a piñata in the middle of the road. They just ran us over. When they became physical and we didn't have Jared Allen and Lamar Stevens to rely on to respond with that physicality, they ran us over. I mean, there's a reason that Okoro and Robin Lopez were the most effective players on our offense in the second half. It's because without Lamar Stevens and Jared Allen on the court, those are our two most physical guys, just straight up. And it shouldn't be that way. I mean, I don't expect the guards to be overly physical, but Dean Wade needs to be more physical. I would have liked to see Mamadi Diakite put in the game earlier to see what he could have done. Ev, as I said before, needs to be more physical, and on and on. And, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they keep saying it's a learning lesson. Here's this quote from JB. This is a great lesson for us, right? We played against an established team who knows where they need to go when they need to take it to another level. And I think that's what we're learning, right? I think they took the game to, playoff level, physicality, and those, are things that we have to learn how to compete against, They are a championship caliber team, and we are learning how to be there and how to get there. So I thought they taught us a valuable lesson tonight. And that lesson needs to be learned, and quickly, because the thing about last year versus this year is that we caught teams off guard last year. They weren't ready for us because they didn't know what was coming, because they were used to being the Cavs being that patsy that they would just do this to and move on to the next one. So we were able to sneak up on teams and get wins. That's why the Bucks didn't do this to us last year, because they didn't view us last year the way they do this year. They're taking us seriously this year, and so is every other team in the league. So we need to be ready for teams to come at us with this playoff intensity, especially because we're a team that has the ability to go on runs early. Like, we had a 16-point lead in the first half on the Bucks. One of the best teams in the league. We had a 16-point lead on in the first half. But once they turned up the physicality and the playoff intensity, we weren't able to match it because our team hasn't experienced the playoffs yet. They don't know what it's like. They only got a small taste of it, and they got that taste of it against two teams that aren't very physical in the Nets and the Hawks. So this is a lesson that needs to be learned, and it needs to be learned quickly, because, I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that third quarter yesterday. I didn't even say it. They beat us 35-10 in the third quarter. We scored 10 points in the third. We scored 2 points in over 8 minutes. In that quarter. So the other 8 came in the last 3.5 minutes of the quarter, which is not good either. I mean, it's just tough, because it seemed like the whole team crumbled, and that's not what you want to see your team do under pressure, especially when we were giving them the business in that first half. So I'm going to move on to the stats, and you guys know I like to do a little comparison between the Big Four and the rest in every game, but I added some more to this, right? I gave Giannis his own section, and I did the best stat getter other than Giannis for each one. You'll get it. Just let me get into it. So the Big Four had 58 points, and the rest had 44. Dean Wade finished with only 7 points, but he had 12 rebounds, which is great. And I don't know why I'm going to that now, but so our bench was great in this game. Now we got some points in garbage time, but I mean, whatever. It is what it is. And something good to sprinkle in with all this badness is every player who played against the Bucks scored, so that's something. But moving on. So the Big Four had 58 points. The rest had 44. Giannis had 38, so he had 6 points less than the other 7 guys who played for the Cavs other than the Big Four. The other best on the Bucks was 18 points from Javon Carter, which, in my opinion, is unacceptable. I mean, you have Darius Garland scoring 20, one of the best point guards in the league, in my opinion. And then you got Javon Carter, who he's a good player in his own right, but I mean, we got to play better defense on him than that. Moving on, the Big Four had 18 rebounds. The rest had 23. Now, the Big Four would have definitely won this if Jarrett kept playing, but it is what it is. And Dean Wade stepped up big time. He grabbed 12 rebounds, so that was great. Giannis had 9, and Bobby Portis had 8 for the Bucks. So you combine those as 17. That's one less than the Big Four, which, I mean, it's not great, but again, we didn't have the other guy who grabs a lot of the rebounds in that Big Four, Jared Allen, for most of the game, so it is what it is. And now we get to the core reason why we lost this game. The Big Four, which includes arguably 2 of the better playmakers in the entire league, in Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, had 5 assists, and the rest had 7. Now, this stat specifically is why I added the Giannis and the other guys on the Bucks, because Giannis alone had 6 assists. Giannis alone had more assists than our 4 best players. Whether Jared Allen played a long time or not is irrelevant to this stat, in my opinion, because yes, Jared Allen is a good passing big, whatever. We have Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, who are great playmakers, so this cannot happen. And then you look at the others best. The Bucks had 2 guys with 5 assists, Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen. So you take Drew Holiday and Grayson Allen, they had 2 less assists than our entire team. You include them with Giannis, they had 4 more assists than our entire team, and that just can't happen. We're a team that should be getting anywhere from 20 to 30-plus assists a game, the way we usually move the ball. I even had it in my notes in the first half. I didn't even feel like, because I don't want to really give the team compliments right now, but when the Cavs are moving the ball well, it's like poetry in motion. It's great to see. And the thing that's like probably most crazy is that the Bucks had more turnovers than us. So let me backtrack. So the Big Four had 5 steals, the rest had 4. Giannis had none. Grayson Allen and Javon Carter both had 2. And, I mean, steals are an interesting stat because they definitely show hustle and effort, but you don't always get the steals when you get your hand on the ball. So, I mean, it's great that we had less turnovers than the Bucks, but, I mean, it wasn't an amount that was that noteworthy. They had 13 turnovers. We had 9. So it was definitely not a very sloppy game in terms of turnovers because the league average is 14. So it is what it is. So here's the thing where I feel like I've said this before, where I want at least 4 blocks a game from the Big Four, because that means Jarrett and Ev are both getting 2 blocks. And Ev was great in the last game. He had 3 blocks. But in this game, the Big Four had 1 block, which was Jared Allen before he hurt his hip. And the rest had 1, and that was Dean Wade. And, I mean, if you compare it to Giannis, had 2 blocks, so he had as many blocks as our entire team. And then Brook Lopez had 6 blocks. Brook had a great game, especially defensively. Well, specifically defensively. I don't think he scored much in that game. But, I mean, that can't happen. It just can't. I know the Bucks have a better front court, more experience when it comes to blocking shots than Brook Lopez and Giannis Antetokounmpo, but to get absolutely destroyed on blocks that much when our defensive identity relies on what we do in the paint just is not okay. And something, I said this before, the team had 9 turnovers, which is good. The league average is 14. So the Big Four had 6 turnovers. The rest had 3. And Giannis and Bobby Portis both had 3 turnovers. So 2 players had as many turnovers as our Big Four. Yes, Jarrett didn't play a lot, so I guess you could say that factors in to turnovers because he's not He's got butterfingers sometimes, but I'm just going to move on from that because those stats suck, and we sucked in the second half yesterday. And something that shows how much we sucked yesterday is the plus minus, because the three guys who lead it are the three guys that came off the bench with 3 minutes left in the game. So Mamadi Diakite, who Giannis showed a lot of love to at the end of the game yesterday, was +7. Isaiah Mobley, also in 3 minutes and 3 seconds, was +7. And so was Raul Neto, +7 in 3 minutes and 3 seconds. And, I mean, it's good to see. I mean, I can't say that, but I feel like saying it was good to see somebody bring the intensity in the second half. And the reason I said I can't say that is because the team did keep fighting, keep clawing to make it a game. But, I mean, the way the Bucks were playing, that just wasn't going to happen. And Jarrett's importance shows because he only played 12 minutes and 4 seconds, but he was +4. So, I mean, if we lose Jarrett, you know what? I can't lie. Now, I'm not wishing anything bad on Jarrett, but if Jarrett is out for a long time, maybe it will teach this team to actually step up and be more physical. Now, do I want him to be out a long time? No, because we're a significantly worse team without him on the court. But maybe we would teach this team to be more physical, specifically Evan Mobley, because that's something we genuinely need if we're going to do anything in the playoffs. Now, moving on, Okoro, the other guy I gave credit to as being physical, was +3 in 31 minutes and 42 seconds. And he earned all those minutes with the way he played. I said this during the Heat game. Teams that are very physical, Okoro plays better against because they play his style of basketball. So he knows how to match up and he knows how to find his spots against those teams. And the other guy who I said was the second most physical on the court with Jarrett Allen and Lamar Stevens out was Robin Lopez, who was -6 in 19 minutes and 8 seconds. And now we get into the fun part where everybody's plus-minus sucks. Jetty Osman was -13 in 32 minutes and 8 seconds. He played okay. I think he finished with like 8 points. But I feel like most of his minutes were because we were so desperate for that spark. Because he played more than Evan Mobley, who played 29 minutes and 5 seconds and was -16. And, I mean, I could say that Ev should never be -16, but then I'm going to move on to Donovan Mitchell, who's -20 in 32 minutes and 21 seconds. Drippy Dean Wade was -22 in 36 minutes and 17 seconds. And DG was -26 in 38 minutes and 6 seconds. And something I wanted to do because we lost the last game against the Bucks and a lot of blame was put on our bench, rightfully so. They were outscored by like over 30 points in that game. Was I wanted to compare bench versus bench, Bucks versus Cavs. And so I only use points, rebounds, and assists, just the basic stats, because, I mean, I could have put steals and blocks in there, but I don't think a lot of guys really had any on the benches, so I just wanted to omit those stats and just stick with the basic 3 stats, points, rebounds, and assists. So here we go. The Bucks had 36 points, the Cavs had 37 on their bench, so we won that. The Bucks bench had 19 rebounds, and the Cavs had 11. That didn't really bother me too much because they have Bayou Portis, who comes off their bench and plays a lot of minutes, and he grabbed a lot of rebounds. He grabbed 8 of those 19 rebounds, so it is what it is. And probably the most frustrating stat here is that the Bucks bench had 9 assists. Our bench had 5. Now, I'm not going to hate on the bench for not getting a lot of assists because they're not the guys who usually have the ball a lot. And so it is what it is. But the Bucks bench having 9 assists while our entire team had 12 is not something I'm willing to live with or let slide. I mean, we had 12 total assists in this game. We are a team whose identity is the team. JB has said this before. This team will go as far as the team goes. The stars know it. The stars believe it. Everyone believes it. Team, 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 right? Well, the team didn't get involved yesterday because we only had 12 assists. We shot 39.1% from the field. We shot 36.4% from 3. The only good shooting stat we had is that we shot 85% on free throws. We're 22 for 26. So, I mean, great first half. good fight in the fourth, I guess. We lost the fourth, I believe, 30-29. But when you lose a quarter 35-10, you're not going to win many games in the NBA. When you score 2 points in 8 minutes in a quarter, you're not going to win many games. And when it comes playoff time, if this team is still playing the way it is right now, they're not going to do anything. I can tell you right now. Maybe they'll be a higher seed because we do beat up on a good amount of teams. So I think we will be a top 4 seed in the East, even if we keep playing the way we are. And we'll get through the first round. And then we'll get smacked in the second round if we're playing this way. Absolutely destroyed. 4-0 sweep wouldn't surprise me. Going to 7 in the first round the way we're playing right now and potentially losing wouldn't surprise me. This team needs to step up in a big way on both sides of the ball. And this team needs to find a way to be physical without Lamar Stevens and Jared Allen on the floor, because that's what's it's gonna come down to in the playoffs. The best teams in the playoffs are physical, right? Specifically the Bucks. The Heat are very physical. The Celtics have physical guys. I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, maybe they don't play as physical in the regular season, but once the playoffs come, they're very physical guys. They step up to the plate when it matters most. So if our guys aren't ready to be physical, then this team isn't going to win anything when it matters most. And maybe it's something they need to learn. Maybe they need to go through the season playing the way they do and just get smacked in the playoffs, like I just said, to learn to be more physical. But it needs to click sooner rather than later if we're going to win anything in this era of Cavs basketball. And with that, I'll let you all go. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. I know I did until, yesterday. That sucked. But until next time, keep scrapping like a bunch of junkyard dogs.